Welcome, everybody, to our Thursday night team call. Thank you guys for making the time to be here. Congratulations on finishing another incredible week. I am, Lisa wins for lip syncing. I am going to jump right in because I'm excited about our call tonight and I don't want to waste any time. I want to make sure we completely get every little ounce of goodness out of this time that we can. So, I'm so excited to introduce Vanessa as speaker today. She's one of our very own on our team, and she's going to be talking to you guys about inviting, which is an absolutely important topic, and I think that you're going to love her perspective and her tips. So a little bit about Vanessa. She is a one-star diamond coach, and she's also a team leader on the leadership ladder, which is a pretty impressive rung to be at. It means that she's not just a diamond coach, she's not just a one-star diamond, but she's really duplicating success with the coaches on her team underneath her. So that's super exciting. She is a Success Club 10 All-Star, which means that she has had Success Club 10 for 12 or more consecutive months. So not missing 1 month, never dropping below it. And if you guys know Vanessa or you follow her stuff, you know that it's evident that she leads from the front. She's never asking people to do something she's not willing to do as a leader. She's made that a priority, and it's helped her to build a really solid business over time. She also has had Success Club for 23 consecutive months. So as soon as this month is over, she will be an all-star legend, which puts her among some pretty elite ranks. That's pretty exciting. She has earned a free vacation with Beachbody. She has earned her way onto the cruise, which is really exciting. I never want to leave out the fact that these are incredible things that we can earn just from doing things like hitting Success Club, something that we do anyway as a coach. And in case you were like, well, that's awesome, but she must have tons of free time to do this. She is a super busy homeschooling mom of 3 with the 4th on the way. So she is building this business while juggling all kinds of stuff in her own personal life. She's super committed to her community. She's a doting wife. She takes care of all the kids at home, does homeschooling, and she's growing a human. So if you ever thought that maybe you had a lot going on, I'm sure Vanessa can empathize with you because she's got a lot going on as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Vanessa. If everybody wants to make sure that you're muted and grab a pen and some paper to take notes, because I know there's going to be a lot of gems in this call.
Thanks, Becca. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking your time and being on this call tonight. I know, as Becca said, I have 3 kiddos and 1 on the way, so I know that evenings are kind of rough, and I've been one of those call participants, like peeling my eyes open, but it just shows me how much you want to build your business and how important this is to you. So I definitely want to respect that and give you guys as much value as I can. So I'm going to go ahead. I actually made slides. If you know me at all, you know that's kind of a big deal because I'm not a big slide person, but that just shows you how much I love you guys tonight and how much I want to bring you some amazing content. So I'm going to share my screen with everyone. And my slides. Somebody is not. So all right. Anyways, I'll just get started. Okay, back.
Hey, Vanessa, can you unmute yourself? You're muted.
Is that working? Okay, good. All right, so today we're going to go into the topic of inviting, how to invite like a pro, and how to go beyond just the personal message. Before I start, though, I did want to share with you guys a little bit about my story, and Becca already talked a lot about some of the things that I've been able to accomplish, but yeah, I'm a mom of 4, have 3 kids who are just my entire world. They stay home with me all day. None of them go to school. None of them go to daycare. So from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. They're all mine, which is a wonderful challenge sometimes. And then we have a little girl on the way. In July, she'll be born. And I have an amazing husband as well, who is a teacher. I started this business 2 years ago. Actually, I looked it up, and it was February 12th, 2014. So tomorrow is my 2-year anniversary of being a coach. And I started sort of at a really bad time to start being a coach because I had a 3-month-old baby and my husband was in grad school, and I was so tired and exhausted. My oldest son was only 3 years old. So I had 3 kids, 3 years old and under. And it just wasn't like I wasn't in a strong place. It was not one of those ideal situations where you're like, yeah, let me just start building a business. This will be great. This will be easy. It was really, really a tough time. But I don't know about you guys. I find that sometimes when you hit rock bottom and you get to that desperate point, that is where you need to be to jump into something great. And that's kind of how my story has gone. But I started really not sleeping through the night, being like 35 pounds overweight. Just all of those struggles. We were financially struggling. My husband had just taken a $10,000 a year pay cut as a teacher, and has not received a raise in like 5 years. They've had a freeze on raises. So, and of course our healthcare costs keep going up. So we were just in like a really tough one income situation. And we had some really real financial needs. And that was a big motivation for me to jump into coaching. And that was, I think, a big part of why I really pushed myself to be successful in this business, is because my desire to be successful was stronger than my fear of failure or my fear of looking stupid or my fear of messing up. Because I really was like, I need to be successful at this. This has to work for us. And I was really far from that bold, confident, winsome coach that I wanted to be. I had some massive fears to overcome, and I was a slow starter. It's not like I actually missed Success Club my first 2 months as a coach. And I vowed never again, and I haven't since, my 3rd month as a coach. But just to say that I haven't had this mediocre, just rising to the top and no struggles. It's been rough. And this isn't really part of the inviting process, but I wanted to just sort of share with you guys something that really impacted me as a coach, sort of this line of success, this journey of success, if you will. I saw myself pretty far from the superstar coach that I wanted to be. I really had no network. I was homeschooled as well, so I didn't have a high school graduating class. I went to a giant community college where I didn't really know anyone, so I didn't have any college friends. I hadn't worked in like 4 years because I had been home with my kids for 4 years, so I didn't have work friends. I didn't have a network. I didn't have people, like tons of people in my life who I could share Beachbody with. I didn't have any childcare. I didn't have any skills building relationships. I'm an introvert, and I love to read, and I love to write, and I love to work on projects, and I love to be crafty and bake. None of those things involve interacting with humans. And so that was not a strength of mine at all. And this is a relational business. I didn't have any income success when I first started. Obviously, nobody does. I had no followers on my blog. I had no physical transformation when I started. And I had years of building a pattern of laziness and self-doubt. So I was pretty far away from that superstar coach, that great coach, that successful coach that I wanted to be. I was really, really far from that. But I believed that I was still on the same path that would get me there. And all it was a matter of time. And, I started thinking about like other coaches that maybe started around the same time as I did. And they've succeeded faster than I have. And that's been a difficult thing for me because, nobody likes to be passed up on their journey. But I realized that just because they succeeded faster didn't mean that I wasn't on the same journey as they were. It just meant that I had a little bit longer to go. And if I could be patient, and if I could continue to work hard on building my network, building my blog, building my relational skills, getting a physical transformation, getting income success, that I could get to that superstar coach, destination that I wanted to be at. And so this is how I used to think that my path was, that like, because I had all these difficulties and all of these shortcomings, that I was on a completely different path, and that my path only had one destination, a mediocre coach, someone who would never, I was just doomed to like not be successful. And all these other coaches were on a totally different track, and they were going to go right to success. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, because we all start this business at different places, but that doesn't mean that we're not all on the same path. And if you go at it long enough, and if you commit to growing yourself, you can get to that destination that you want to get to. And don't use it as an excuse, because I would look at other people and I'd say, well, they don't have any kids. She's an extrovert and she has great people skills, and she was a quick starter, so she had instant success she could share with people from like month 2, and I didn't, and I could just use that as an excuse instead of saying, well, what's to stop me from maybe in 3 or 4 months I'll be where Coach A is. She started there, but it took me 3 or 4 months, but I can still get there. And then maybe 6 months after that I'll be where Coach B is. Maybe she started there and she didn't have to work hard to get there, and I had to work 6 months, but I still got there. And so just to be an encouragement to you, no matter where you start, you can get as high as you possibly could imagine or want to get. Okay, that's just a little rant before I get into the good stuff. So when I first started as a coach, this is how I thought inviting looked. Add a friend, send them a personal message, and invite them to a challenge group. I was the total Beachbody coach creeper and didn't have a ton of success, especially when it came to cold market people or people who I didn't know very well. And I think that's where a lot of us struggle the most, because it's not too hard to invite your mom or your sister or, your friend or somebody who you already have a relationship with. But, you're supposed to add 3 to 5 friends a day, and you're supposed to invite those people. So I added the friend and I invited them. But after so many times of not having success with that formula, I started watching other coaches, and I started asking a lot of questions, and I started failing my way to some small successes. One of my favorite quotes is, "You want to be successful? Simply double your rate of failure." So just because I was experiencing some failures with my inviting process, instead of giving up, I decided to double my rate of failure and just invite twice as fast, doing different things, trying different things, figuring out what worked. Never shrink back when you hit a failure. The best way to overcome a failure is to run at it with twice the amount of speed that you did the first time. And that's kind of what I did. I threw myself into inviting, even though that was my weakest of the vital behaviors. So here are my steps now for how to invite. They're a little bit more complex, but they're much more effective. So first, instead of adding random friends, I started to find people who I felt connected with. I looked for mutual friends. I didn't just add like whatever they suggested, Facebook suggests you friends. I wanted moms. I wanted young moms. I wanted young artsy moms. I wanted young artsy, natural leaning moms. And it's pretty easy. You scroll through somebody's feed, if you see their profile picture, to pick out more or less if this is someone that you would feel comfortable with or not. So I started targeting my niche instead of randomly adding friends. I started finding people on groups, both online and in real life. This was kind of hard at first because I was so wrapped up in my mom life. I didn't even have hobbies. I was like, I don't know. I don't do anything but like feed my kids and change their diapers. But I found breastfeeding groups. I found baby wearing groups. Now I'm kind of like obsessed with learning how to do makeup because I've always done the same thing since high school. And I was like, hey, I'm turning 30. I should probably like learn how to do this for real. So I joined like a makeup group, and who knows what's going to come from that, but it always interacting with people on groups, online and in real life is a great way to find people. And then when you feel that connection, add them as a friend. And then the last thing, to find people you feel connected with, you have to put out your true self and put out those vibes. So those people will kind of start finding you too. So it's a two-way street. When I wasn't at the beginning, when I wasn't putting out my true self, I was connecting with people who were like reaching out to me, and I'm like, people are so weird. Like, why are they connecting to me? And then I looked at my feed, and I was like, well, because I'm not really putting my true self out there on my newsfeed. And so it just wasn't like a great situation. But as I've gotten better at putting out my true self, I've been connecting with people who I feel just more of like similarities and ability to interact with them even on deeper levels. And this is really important, especially if you want to recruit coaches for your team. Like, gosh, you've got to have people you feel connected to. So the second thing I did after I targeted my friending process was to start liking, commenting, and interacting with their posts. So instead of just add friend, send personal message, I decided, hey, how about I actually like become their friend? Like, clicking add friend doesn't actually make you someone's friend. It means that now you have the permission to start getting to know them and become their friend. So I started liking their posts. Actually on Facebook, you can create a special friend group, and I call it my Team Cup group because I made it when I was doing the Team Cup a couple, Team Cups ago. And it's just stayed that same name. And anytime I add a friend who I feel like I connect with, I add her to the Team Cup group, and then I can actually see a news feed of only those people in that group. So these are my like targeted people, and I can spend my time interacting with, liking, and commenting on their posts. And that's really a big deal, especially for people who don't have huge networks. I remember when I had a small network and somebody liked a bunch of my posts, like, I noticed that person and I felt really special, and I felt like they really like, oh, they must think I'm so funny because they're liking my post that I did, or, whatever. It just never underestimate the power of a like, especially if there's someone who doesn't have like 500 likes on everything they post, and it means something to people. So I started giving what I would like to receive, and that's really important. Don't downplay that. Then I also had to be sure that I was posting the lifestyle of health and coaching. And you always hear post 2 to 3 times a day. I see that as part of the inviting process, because people need to be intrigued by something before they actually reach out to you or before they actually respond to your invite. There has to be some curiosity. I like to try to build interest without giving everything away. So instead of saying, hey guys, I'm doing the 21-day fix. It's a 30-minute workout with color-coded containers, and this is how it works, and then I drink my Shakeology, and this is my favorite recipe. Like, don't give out all that information, because A, people don't have time to read all of that, and B, if you give so much information, people kind of feel like they know everything that is entailed and make a decision without actually talking to you. The key is to start a conversation, and to start a conversation, there has to be questions in their mind of like, okay, what is the 21-day fix? Like, you want to be clear enough to where you're building interest, but not so much information to where they're like, oh, no, thanks. Yeah, I read all about it on your feed and I don't think it'll work for me. I'd rather someone say, yeah, tell me more about this. And then I can get into like what's going to work for them and really have a conversation, as opposed to like giving so much information that they judge it already from the beginning. Same goes with coaching. Don't share everything there is to share about coaching, but build interest, build intrigue. So you're interacting with their posts and you're making them curious through your posts. Then the fourth thing I would do is invite people to free groups, invite them to read a blog post of mine or watch a video that I had made on YouTube. And all this is doing, this would be in a personal message, but all this is doing is having me have this, like, if this is a cold market person, they don't know where to place me in their friendship, like, I don't know, schematic of their world. So I want to tell them where to place me, and I want to tell them I'm a giver. I am someone who can help you, encourage you, give you information, give you encouragement, I want to position myself as someone who's a giver and who has things to give, not just a free group or a blog or a video, but also a workout program and an amazing shake and amazing coaching opportunity. But you have to build up to that. So that's what I do for my very first personal message after I've already sort of established some sort of friendship with them, is I want to give them something free. And it doesn't have to be your blog post if you're not a blogger. It doesn't have to be your video, but if you found something helpful, chances are it'll help that person. And if you've been interacting with their posts, you kind of know what's going on in their life, and you can really surprise them with amazing content and amazing help. Then, finally, after all of that, I invite them to a challenge group or to the coaching opportunity. But this is how I do it. I make them feel special. I say something like, I was getting my next challenge group or my next coach mentoringship together, and I thought of you. Would you be interested in more information, or have you ever thought about coaching, depending on what I'm inviting them to? And then I listen. And then I ask more questions, and then I listen again, and then I ask more questions. I actually force myself that my next 2 messages to the person will be questions only. And this is something that did not come naturally to me, but has totally increased the effectiveness of my invites. Instead of just blurting out information and worrying about saying the right thing and worrying about what do I respond, I just keep asking more questions. These are some of my favorite questions. Things like, well, what are your fitness goals? What interests you most about this program or this opportunity? Have you ever been involved in any other MLMs, multi-level marketing businesses? What workouts have you done in the past? I want to get their history, because somebody's history will color what they're going to think of what you have to share with them. How is your nutrition? And where do you struggle the most? How can I help you? Where can I provide value to you? So basically, instead of trying to guess and write this incredibly long message that will touch on every aspect that they could possibly be curious about, I make it easier for myself, and I actually ask them what they're curious about. What's important to you? What's your past history with the business or the workouts? Once I know that, then it's so easy to respond. If their past history is nothing and they're starting from scratch, then I'll ask again, like, well, what kind of goals do you have? What interests you about coaching? Let's talk about why you even are curious about it. And if it's financial, then that's great. I can talk about that. If it's for accountability for their nutrition, that's great. I can talk about that. I don't have to guess when I ask questions. So that is a big part of my inviting process now that has changed everything. And then the last thing I do is I expect a no. And you have to be careful with this, because obviously if you're asking with like fear that they're going to say no, it's going to come out in your language to them, and it's going to sound like you don't believe in the products when really you're having self-confidence issues. But that's what it sounds to other people, and they're not going to be confident to join you if you're not confident in yourself. So I'm not talking about confidence, but I'm just talking about realistic. I expect a no. My goal and my strategy for that first invite to my challenge group is to plant the seed in their mind that A, if they didn't already know, I run challenge groups. B, I'd love to have them in them. And then a little information and a little bit of, me sharing what they're all about. I'm just planting that seed in their mind. And I'm expecting them to say, oh, that's too expensive, or, oh, I'm not ready right now, or, oh, whatever. Because the stats are that most people have to hear something or be asked something 4 to 5 times before they say yes. And I know that's how it is for me. I, see a commercial and I'm like, that's such a stupid, thing. That's such a stupid product. Like, who would ever buy that? And then like 2 days later, I get into a situation where that product would kind of have come in handy. And I'm like, oh gosh, maybe it's not such a bad product. And then like a couple days later, I'll see the commercial again and I'll be like, oh wait, what's that product called again? And then I'll Google it and see like, do other people like it? And then by the 4th time I've seen the advertisement, I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy it. It's just how it works. So my first invite to someone, is not so much like if they say no, I'm crushed and I'm rejected and that's it. I suck at this. It's like, no, they're going to say no. I mean, if they say yes, great, and have the confidence because they should say yes. It's an unbelievable opportunity. But if they say no, I'm kind of expecting it. I'm kind of like, okay, I keep them on my list. So I ask them if I can follow up the next month. I keep them on my list. I continue to build a friendship that's not based solely on Beachbody. Like, I don't just check in every month saying, hey, are you ready now? Hey, how about now? Hey, are you ready now to join my Beachbody? Like, people don't care all about Beachbody all the time. I know it's a shocker, but they have other stuff going on in their life. So I try to have at least 1 or 2 connections with them about other things other than Beachbody before the next month rolls around. So again, I'm just continue to establish myself as a giver and a friend and a normal person, and not just have a one-track mind for you and all I want is for you to join me in Beachbody, and just continue to build that friendship. I have a few coaches who signed up with me this month who I've been building relationships with them and talking with them since like July or June, and I just continue to be interested in them and in their life. And when the time was right, they joined up with me. And then I'll use their objections as post ideas, right? Like, it's a great way to kind of figure out what people are thinking, because not everyone will tell you. When somebody tells you an objection, that's a gift that you can use, because now you know that probably, like, for every one person who tells you, probably like 20 people or more are thinking it and they're not telling you. So that's your opportunity to answer them. I try to answer with humor. I try to answer with lightness, because I never want someone to feel like, geez, Vanessa, whenever I'm answering an objection, I always try to throw a little humor or lightness into it, or include myself, like, hey, I used to think the same thing. But don't be afraid to answer objections, and do them with guys, we're the coaches. We know the truth. We know what's up. We're not guessing and saying, oh, well, shakes, they never work. Like, we know the facts. We know the science. Like, we should be the ones helping others with our knowledge, because that's who we are. It's our job to know. It's our job to educate. And then I continue to believe in them, because the truth is, when somebody says no to joining you in a coach opportunity or in a challenge group, it's not necessarily because they don't believe in you or they don't believe in the opportunity or the program. It's because they don't believe in themselves. And that is the biggest thing that holds people back, is fear and lack of self-confidence. And so my goal is to build them up, to build up their self-confidence, even if it's just something as small as saying, oh my gosh, your profile picture, you look so beautiful in it. Like, it's a little thing, but I am telling them how valuable they are, how wonderful they are, how smart they are, how funny they are. Believing in someone is an unbelievable gift and brings unbelievable value to them, and could be just what they need to tip the scales to start believing in themselves and take the leap into something amazing. So that is all that I have for you guys, and I'm so excited about it that I was talking super fast. But I hope that was helpful for you as you are inviting people. And I know that the temptation can just be to rush through it. Add friend, send invite. Add friend, hey, I'm a coach. Do you want to join my challenge group? But the truth of the matter is, you're going to be wasting more time doing that than if you were to do a little extra work and really be a friend and really build value for them and really show that you care and that you love. Being interested in people is kind of a big deal, and it means a lot. And that's our power. Any robot computer can spam people with 100 emails a day, selling them everything under the sun. But to have an actual person who actually cares, who's real, that is unheard of in our day, right? Like, it's all about robots now, and we are the human factor. We're the human factor when we're inviting. We're the human factor when we're coaching. Everything that we do as coaches is about our humanity and our ability to care. So we got to bring that into our inviting. So yeah, that is all that I have. I'll open up the chat and see if you guys have any questions or practical, like, because I know that was a lot of theoretical and I didn't give a whole lot of like practical examples. So let me see.
While you're scrolling through, that was amazing. I was watching everybody just saying yes, yes, yes in the chat. I think that it's always a good reminder. I mean, it was even a good reminder for me because I found myself slipping into old habits last month where I was definitely not connecting with people enough before just re-inviting them. And I hope that I didn't make anybody feel like I only had one thing in mind for them, but it's such a good reminder, no matter if you're a brand new coach or you've been a coach for 2.5 years like me. So that's a great point. The one, I wrote it down. See, I took a whole bunch of notes. The one where you said after, and this is a great little nugget that I think can just be one of those things that you tuck away in your head, maybe write it on a Post-it note. What do you do after you hear a no, right? Like, what do you do with that person? Is that the end? Do you never talk to them again? Do you like cower in fear of them hating you? And I love this because it's so simple and it's so in line with our team's core values. You write their name down on a, warm follow-up list, and then you try to connect over a few non-Beachbody things before you reinvite them again. Like, so simple, can take 1 minute. Of your month, if you're going to reinvite them again next month, just spend 1 minute scrolling their Facebook, finding something they're interested in, leaving a comment. You guys know how much you love to get nice, positive comments on your stuff. Other people feel the same way. And then you have, that baseline to actually build a friendship, actually show people that you care about them, that you're not just a Beachbody robot. I love that. Some of the other things I really loved that Vanessa said was that statistic, and I've heard all different numbers that range from 5 to 7, but basically it boils down to you need to hear or see something multiple times before it either sinks in and makes you take an action. And that is true for you as much as it is for your challengers. Now, maybe the first time you heard about Beachbody, it was just perfect timing for you when you signed up right from the gate. But odds are you'd been thinking about different weight loss things and in like hearing about different ones for a while. It just so happened that this one fell in your lap by the time you were finally ready to take an action. But so true. I mean, you have to hear things so many times before they really sink in and you kind of have that aha moment of clarity. Also, this little quote, give what you want to receive. And I wrote down attention because I was thinking, well, what is it that we want to receive from people when we're talking to them online? And for me, it's attention. I want someone to take the time to answer my message and write me back. Or I want someone to look at the stuff that I'm posting and take it in and feel inspired by it. So if I want people to be giving me attention, then I should be giving them attention back. That law of attraction. Put out what you want to get back. I love that. And then the last thing, which was from the very beginning of the call, which is something that I think Vanessa and I have in common, was that when she started as a coach, her desire to be successful was stronger than her fear of failure. And I definitely feel that was the same for me. And I think that it's a point that a lot of coaches have to get to. And when they get there, they have kind of this landslide moment where a lot of stuff starts to open up for them because you just stop living in fear and you stop living in reaction and you start to be proactive. But I've talked about it multiple times where I have had moments in my business where I just like hit a breaking point where I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I embarrass myself, if I fall flat on my face, like I have to earn X amount of money for my family this month. So I'm going to have to find some more challenge packs to sell and, embarrassingly send out like 35 extra messages or something ridiculous. But you do hit that point where your desire to be successful just starts to overshadow your fear of embarrassment or failure or whatever it is. And one last one before I let question and answer take over. I didn't write this down, but I remembered it. When Vanessa was saying, if you want to increase your rate of success, increase your rate of failure. That is something that is not just like a nice little quote. It's like a principle. What's his face? The author from The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, who was the keynote speaker at Summit. He actually shared an entire series of his talk where he showed this pendulum slide. You guys know what a pendulum looks like grandfather clocks ticker that goes back and forth and back and forth. And he was saying that success and failure are not actually opposite things. They're actually on both ends of the same spectrum. So they're connected, actually. It's not like they're disconnected things and they never interact. They're actually along the same plane. And if you want to be more successful, you have to actually be more of a failure. There's not really a way around it. Just like if you have a pendulum and you're wanting it to swing left and right and left and right, if you pull it this far, it's only going to swing a little bit to the other direction, because that's how pendulums work. If you want it to swing really far, you have to pull it really far one way. So if success is over here and failure is over here, and you want to have success way out over here, you're going to have to pull to the failure side pretty far to get it to swing the other way to the success side. And I remember that visual from his talk because it was such, I'm a visual learner, and it was such a good example for me to be able to see how they were correlated, because you hear things like this and you hear these little mantras and phrases a lot in business, and you just think, oh, that's cute. Like, that's their kitschy little saying for this talk, but they're really these true principles. And it's kind of those moments where they finally sink in and you have that like moment of click where you can kind of start to implement them in their lives. So I really loved that. I saw some people asking questions, so I'm going to go ahead and let Vanessa take it over.
Well, I did, and kind of going back to what you said, Becca, at the beginning, like with, how we all kind of get lazy sometimes in our inviting, and at the same time, there's not necessarily anything wrong with just inviting someone and they're like, yeah, I want to do it, and they jump in, and that's great. And I think also the longer you're a coach and the more that you have established yourself and have a proven track record and are known for, successfully coaching people through programs, you do tend to get more people who are open to just kind of a quick and dirty, like, hey, do you want to join my challenge group? Yeah, I really do. I've been thinking about it for a while. Okay, here's the link. Great. But this formula kind of came out of me being frustrated with my inviting process. And so I think for a lot of us, we can get into a rut and we can be like, I feel like I'm doing the same thing and nothing is happening. And I'm doing my 3 vitals and nothing is happening. And so that's really the heart behind this formula, not necessarily that it can't happen faster or it can't happen without going through all the steps. But if you're hitting your head against the wall, these steps can be helpful for you to kind of like just add a little more flavor to your invites so that they're more attractive to people. So that's just a little disclaimer. This is not like you have to do it this way, and if you don't, you're like a super salesy, awful coach. Not at all. Okay, so questions here.